Blizzard recently announced the upcoming release of a new Hearthstone format, Heroic Brawl. Players will pay an entry fee to compete in an arena-style series of games, but with a single constructed deck. While much controversy has surrounded the mode itself, many competitive players are excited for Heroic Brawl, not just because of the allure of amazing rewards, but also for the entertainment value offered to the Hearthstone community by having high-risk, high-reward experiences in the Heroic Brawl mode. While anticipating the exact meta of Heroic Brawl and how to target that meta for success is a rather lofty task, certain concepts can be useful for understanding how the Heroic Brawl meta is likely to play out. Those from the Hearthstone community claiming that the Heroic Brawl will simply pan out just like Constructed Ladder are certainly overlooking a few distinctions that are likely to be drawn between Constructed Ladder and the Heroic Brawl. By understanding these distinctions, players will be able to anticipate what decks and strategies might lead to success in the Heroic Brawl. In Constructed Ladder play, decks that have polarizing matchups can be utilized over a longer span of games to curve out into a successful win rate. This is particularly true in the current meta for combo decks like Freeze Mage and even highly aggressive decks like Aggro Pirate Warrior and Aggro Freeze or Burn Mage. These types of decks aren't likely to be as viable in Heroic Brawl, where at 3 losses you're out, as those decks perform over the course of a large span of games in a Constructed Ladder season. Competitive players will be more likely to strategize for Heroic Brawl as opposed to a Conquest format tournament. In Conquest, when you win with a deck, it is retired. Players can bring a deck that has polarizing matchups and target their matchups thoughtfully, hoping to steal a game with such a deck and then cast it aside. In Last Hero Standing, the opposite is the case. When you win with a deck, you have to continue to play it until you lose. In Heroic Brawl, the ideal decks will be ones that stand a chance to win when coming up against a large cross-section of the meta. These are the kinds of decks that can sweep a longer series of games, which, in Heroic Brawl, can mean insane rewards for successful players. At worst, a player's deck ideally will have a 50-50 matchup with the most common powerhouse decks in the meta, like Midrange Shaman and Malygos Druid. From there, the matchups will need to strengthen against other common decks in the meta in order to have a chance at success. It's no secret that Midrange Shaman is likely to be a common matchup to queue into in Heroic Brawl. The deck prides itself on consistency and 50-50 or better win rates against most of the Hearthstone meta. However, the counters and reactive theory crafting decisions that spark the variety of decks found in Constructed will take shape in the Brawl as well. A Control Warrior with a few tech cards often has positive win rates against Midrange Shaman while maintaining a strong chance of victory against many other powerful meta decks. Midrange and Secret Hunter players might hope to feast on the Control Warrior counters and rush down any other opponents they come across. Tempo Mage can steal games from any class, and with a few tech cards for Shaman would allow it to rack up unparalleled win streaks. Likewise, Malygos Druid decks pack enough removal, sustain, and value power to win any matchup. These types of middle-of-the-road matchup decks will likely be the bread and butter of Heroic Brawl. Like in constructed competitive tournaments, tech cards are going to be more important and relevant in Heroic Brawl than they are on Ladder. Many competitive players will advise ladder grinders to avoid risky tech cards over the course of a season because ultimately you want consistency over the course of hundreds of games. In the Heroic Brawl, the scope is narrowed, and a single tech card playing a role in 1 or 2 games can be the difference between the reward of 3 packs at 2 wins and proportionally getting your entry fees worth in the reward at 5 wins. If midrange shamans are to be anticipated, control-oriented decks can tech in a Harrison Jones to deal with a Shaman's Spirit Claws or a Baron Geddon to help clear the board of totems. Some players might even go for the 6-mana Corrupted Seer for additional token and totem removal on the turn before Shaman's Thunderbluff Valiant comes down. Shaman players can experiment with weapon removal as well, perhaps opting for the Acidic Swamp Ooze, which can offer game-stealing tempo in the mirror match under the right circumstances. Warrior players may find Fool's Bane to be a useful tech removal as well. Fatigue lists combine the weapon with Violet Illusionist, offering an unexpected full clear of heavy minions often found in Malygos Druid, like Arcane Giant or even Malygos. The weapon can also offer a series of trades against a flooded board of smaller minions, allowing warriors to clear Manatide Totem and Flame Tongue Totem, often hidden behind taunts like Feral Spirits. Tempo Mage players will not want to queue into this mode without at least one significant board clear like Flame Strike, even in an aggressive Tempo Mage deck. The use of mirror images will also be key in protecting aggressive minions in more race-style matchups. All competitors should be very wary of game-stealing finishers, potentially Yogg Saron in some spell-heavy decks, and certainly Deathwing, a single card that can finish out any game at the calculated most unexpected moment. Heroic Brawl should be anticipated with excitement from the Hearthstone community. At the very least, in place of Tavern Brawl for a week, the community will get to enjoy the most high-risk, high-reward entertainment ever offered in the game client. If the entry fee is too high a barrier for some, then the thrilling Heroic Brawl runs that competitive streamers will broadcast on Twitch will be an amazing source of entertainment in the Heroic Brawl week. Moreover, Hearthstone has rarely offered an in-game feature that is geared toward the most competitive atmosphere. Heroic Brawl is exactly this, and if a player is willing to enter, a simple 5-3 win-loss rate, rewarding 6 packs, 220 dust, and 220 gold is all that's needed to make the trip worthwhile. The flashiest cards in this deck are Malygos and Moonfire. The 12 damage from hand is a great finisher. However, part of the deck's power lies in its flexibility. Attempting to win every game with 12 damage over 3 cards and 9 mana is optimistic at best. Muzzy's Malygos Druid anticipated the difficulties in pulling off this combo and designed the deck in such a way